Hi guys, in the name of Christ, how you doing? It's your girl Crank. Gekarabo. I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're stellar, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. It is the 20th of November 2023, it's a Monday, and I hope to be able to get exercise in later today. Yeah, because, you know, every so often I am challenged in ways that I can't fathom. Anywho, let me just put some caveats out there. I'm wearing application makeup, so if it bounces around all over the show, have mercy, it's not the real deal, it's an app. Number two, my captions are not always accurate, please take them in your stride. I don't have time to edit them. In the future maybe I shall. And they also use a small G for God, they're kind of irreverent, and there's misspellings and stuff like that, so check that out, look out for it. Number three, I might have a speech lag later. It's a bit cooler on in the day, but this is an old phone, so sometimes it gives me problems. And thank God we have found a way around the silence detector taking out my words, so that's not an issue anymore. Alrighty, cool, let's just get straight into this. Even though I don't know what this is, but you know, we'll figure it out as time progresses. Look at my hair, lovely isn't it? Doing really well after the hyper moisture. My method of moisturizing my hair, I do believe, really goes a very long way to not only grow my hair at super violent speeds, but it just keeps it looking so lustrous for so long. You might want to wrap it and take it and run with it. You know, I put a plastic bag on my head and I just kind of leave it there for 24 hours after moisturizing. Yeah, if once a week I do that, and it's done this for my hair, so up to you if you want to roll like that. Despite having put the plastic bag on, it did not mess with the neatness of the hair, so yeah guys, I'm all about giving all that advice. Take it or leave it, it's up to you. In terms of my skin, y'all, it's working. Thank God I got off the Omni Gold because it was giving me lighter skin. It was essentially bleaching me, and I was not trying to do that, but it did also clear my acne. Remember, I was concerned that I would get acne again if I stopped using the product. It's been 3 days, I'm still crossing my fingers, and I don't have any new acne, amen. So it turns out cell tone spot control on its own is a power worker, so amen. And my skin is, don't know if you can tell as well, it's evening out. I thought it would take a whole month, maybe two, for me to detransition from the bleaching, because I was bleached in this area and I was just getting super light, I was not feeling it, but I appear to be evening out just from being off Omni Gold for 3 days. So one of these days I'm going to be the same tone all over. Likely within 2 weeks I'll probably be completely recovered, because it's only been 3 days, and already there is not much of a demarcation, as you guys can see, between this skin tone and that. I'm already coming back home, so amen. In terms of the lightness of my skin, can you tell that I'm getting my darkened complexion skin back? I'm coming back here. I'm not as bright as I was when I was on Omni Gold every day. It's coming back. My skin tone is wearing, so thank God. One of these days I'm gonna be looking exactly the same. There will always be a white casty thing flashing back at you. Because of my sunscreen, I don't have money to change that around, so that's always gonna be a thing. But at least I'm gonna be back to my normal skin tone in a flash, so thank God. I found that after getting off Omni Gold, my skin is so hyper moisturized. It's just so richly moisturized. It's glowing, it's popping. I do believe likely that is because Omni Gold has got, I believe, quite a high alcohol content, so alcohol is quite drying even when you hyper moisturize. So because that product is out, there's no more all that much too much alcohol on my physite, so all the products are basically doing what they're supposed to do. So that's why getting Omni Gold is a wonderful product. It is, but use it once every 2 weeks in the evenings, or in the mornings, or in the morning and in the evening on one day for over 2 weeks, or once every 3 weeks, or once even a month, because it will fast track. It works really quickly on hyperpigmentation, really fast, and you don't even have to be using it every single day. It's the first application or the first 2 applications are so poignant in potency in working on you that all you need is one application, just like a chemical peel, and then you will just continue to peel for the week coming. It works like that, so it's best used sparingly. I guess it makes sense why there is so little of it in the container. because I guess that's how people are supposed to use it. Not daily, not twice a day, just once every so often, just to keep your skin looking bright. Works really quickly on dark circles, just anything hyperpigmentation, but it is definitely not to be utilized every day unless you want to maintain a skin tone that's not your own, and also unless you want moisturizer to not matter. No matter how much you moisturize, you still kind of low-key have like a dry, arid, deserty face. But if you want to glow and pop like this, get off the stuff and just use what makes sense. My white cast sunscreen, I believe I've blended it well. Hallelujah. It really doesn't look that bad. Look at me, I'm popping, aren't I? Yeah, glowing outside, even though on the inside everything sucks. In terms of my facial exercises, can't nobody deny these things are working. Not only did was I doing these exercises on my face, you know, everything that I showed you guys in the one video that I did. Please go check it out. It's called Apparently I'm As Good As Dead, but look at how my skin is popping, or how I've got like plumpness in my cheeks, whatever, that's what it's called. I give counsel concerning how to rejuvenate your face, give yourself a natural facelift, and this has happened in just like a couple of days ever since commencing. My face is doing this, and so too is my neck. I don't know if anybody was noticing, but you know, the thing about the neck is you are the first one to notice like nastiness going on over there. But I feel like there's been an improvement even on my neck. When I gesture, you cannot see the lines that much anymore. Not lines, but like the strings, like your muscles, your neck muscles. When you're younger, rarely ever do people get to see that you've actually got muscles in your neck when you gesture, when you talk, when you move. And when you get older, you start to notice that your muscles are pulling through a lot more. They're a lot more visible, a lot more prominent when you gesture, type thing. And I was starting to notice that it was really disturbing me. And with the exercises that I've been doing, I'm basically going back to basics. I am returning to when I was younger, where it is that there's minimal sighting of all the muscles that contribute to my vocals, to my speaking, to my gesturing, left and right, moving, all that stuff. Like, I don't want my muscles showing, all of them. That's just a sign of aging. I have managed to reverse that too with just these like exercises. So guys, love me or hate me, love me tender, love me sweet, do what you want to do, but you cannot deny that I'm onto something. And if you want to do better by yourself, just go and check out that video. And in it, I basically display my little neck exercises, my face exercises that give me this plump outward appearance. If you were to guess my age, would you say I'm 39? Doubt it. Okay. Yeah, my hair is nice and jet black. I'm taking real good care of it. It's growing, it's thick, like the hair of a thriving young person that's not yet losing collagen, that's not yet losing, what is this, pigment everywhere, you know, in the hair, no graying, nothing, that's not yet losing luster, thickness, you know, girth, all that which contributes to a youthful appearance. I still got everything down tip to toe. Day before yesterday. Yesterday I was singing like a whole bunch, and oh goodness, whoa, I was so exhausted from singing that my heart was sad. It's because I just felt like, why do I have to keep on doing all this stuff, for crying out loud? Like, why can't I just live? Why can't I just have a life? Why do I have to keep fighting so many people? Yeah, so nonetheless, whatever, we did it, we uploaded, we sang, and we conquered. I'm here now today. But the day before that, I was doing my hair in front of you guys. I made like a whole body butter that I also use for my hair. Yeah, you can go and copy that body butter, put it in your hair, but that body butter is not the only thing that I'm doing for my hair. My speech lag is coming in now. I gotta make sure that I've saved this content. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Oh my goodness, like, whoa, please don't give me the speech like I just need peace, like, for a minute. Like, just give me peace for a minute. Phone, do that. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, that hair cream and my methodology of moisturizing has contributed to my hair growth, but I have other things that I also do, other things that I experiment on, and perhaps one of these days I will tell you what they are. I just don't have time. Usually when I'm in the mood of showing people stuff, I will just incorporate it into my chat sessions, but whenever that comes, it comes. But you can take the advice from yesterday. What I'm trying to get at with her commencing this conversation like this, goodness, I've got this like speech lag. I'm worried now. I want to now save the content after just 10 minutes of talking, lest it should disappoint me and not save. I don't know. Yeah, I'm rapping on like this precisely because I'm very, very, very excellent at everything I do. And yet, I'm sitting here going nowhere. How is anybody content with that? When that is the world that you live in, where really good people are ignored. Where in the world under heaven are you ever going to get any advice that makes any sense at all? When you are so jealous of the world around you that you insist on neutralizing anybody that's good on the left and on the right, how is anybody going to move ahead? How is any paradigm going to be shifted? How is any innovation ever going to change and therefore improve anybody's life? Because that's exactly where this is going, don't you see? All of this insanity, all of this witchcraft. Like, I got people who will listen to me. For instance, right now I made a recommendation for women to go back and watch that video. Yeah, apparently I'm as good as dead. And just based on their observation on how things are working on my face, they will go back there, watch it, only because I sent them there. But proliferate my content, share it, actually really truly try to see if I can't get anywhere in life. They would never help me along. Well, I mean, if I die, nobody's gonna rock up and help you who is aging like a prune reverse the signs. Nobody is going to innovate some kind of a pioneering hair growing thing that you're going to allow to thrive. Everybody is just gonna die because you're so jealous. Is that basic? Let me save this content because there's too much of a lag for me to trust that I'm able to save content. I was able to save, but I've got a speech lag here still. So I guess I'll save every 10 to 12 minutes just to make sure I don't lose everything. The room is still quite warm. That's just the thing. It was a very hot day. It's 19:13. It's 13 minutes past 7 at night. So temperatures are still pretty high in here. Given that this room has no ventilation. Yeah, so this is just the way that my life is. It's extremely disquieting. It's very disheartening for me to work like this, but it is what it is. I guess we just take it, okay? Insofar as the audio is audible, that's all we're running with. Let's just finish talking about what we were talking about. The level of insanity on the earth, never mind the earth, but South Africa is like a big thing for me. It's a big challenge. It's an issue. I can't stand this country. Like the jealousy on the ground, especially among black people, and you know, the defeatism of black people is causing everybody else to mistreat and disquiet black people. It's like making an observation that they don't even care about each other. So I mean, I guess we can just loot and plunder. So everybody else that loots us and plunders us, it is based on them making an observation that no one will come to our rescue. I was afflicted by a whole bunch of Indians in 2014 because they made an observation that black people will never come through for me. So I had the carpet pulled from underneath my feet because of an observation that was made that no one's coming for me. Anyway, whatever. This jealousy that you're rolling around in, this competitiveness, this hard knock of basically violent ambition that you're in. My question is, when exactly are you anticipating, or rather, let me put it this way, what exactly are you anticipating is going to be the end result of a population when all you can do is extract every person that is gifted in any way out of the door so that you can come out number one? Because at some point you literally can knock out everybody that you need to get to the next day. Every mind that is needed in order to survive tomorrow's calamity. Every innovator, every brainiac that can come up with a new solution to improve even your life. You will knock them out the way before they can even walk in that innovation. Just from making an observation that someone is as good as they are at anything they do, you will literally knock them out the way before they can improve even your life or the lives of your children. So what are you left with on that day? Just some mediocre society, are you not? That is just stagnated, like sticking around in one grain. One boring, unmarvelous grain. But that's the world you created around you, because as a mediocre rando that's kind of flatlining, you can't for the life of you have anybody be better, can you? Anyway, look, yeah, the very same woman that you are extracting out of society, trying to force her suicide, yeah, it appears one of these days you might just get what you want, except you won't. I'll never stop recording. Even when I'm struggling with the phone, like right now I'm struggling with the phone to a point where I'm insecure about continuing to record because it's just got such a bad speech lag. But if at all this phone dies on me, I literally don't have any more recording devices. I don't have any more recording devices. But this is what I have to deal with every day. I was very tired today. Tired is not the right word, man. Like, what do you, like, it's demonic abuse. Yeah, it's demonic abuse. I'm not tired, guys. Tired is you haven't slept even though you've expanded energy. Or you have expanded energy and you are yet to get the rest that is needed to give you energy again. So you're exhausted. This is not exhaustion because I slept. This is not fatigue because I have yet to expand any energy today. I'm still gonna go exercise. All I've done is just kind of walk up and down, washing the dishes, blah. That's as much energy I have expanded. I ate earlier, so if anything, I should be increasing in energy. I broke my fast at 6 p.m. and I ate some muesli with some fruit. I shouldn't be tired, but my body is kind of zonked, drained, because of a bunch of psychopaths. Others might imagine that I speak too much about witches and witchcraft. But when your whole life is encircled by exploiters who are mediocre, and because they're as mediocre as they are, they cannot for the life of them impress anywhere where they go. Because like I said, flatlined and mediocre are they. So in order for them to continue to look good, the very people that they kicked to the curb to make sure they can never breathe, yeah, they gotta keep draining them. They gotta keep on expanding their bodies and their ecosystem that they might exsanguinate ideas. You're gonna keep on coming back to your victims so you can drink their blood as through a straw. So you keep them alive, barely, intravenously, so you can drink out of them. I guess in that way you're similar to the agents in the Matrix, right? Where your victims are like batteries, fueling your machine of hallucinations, aberrations, frankly, that are in an ecosystem that ought not be there, but that you're pretending are the real deal. Everything is mediocre, and if there is any excellence in the room, it's only because you have exsanguinated it out of an excellent person that you're drinking the blood of as through a straw. Anyway, whatever, we're done rapping on about that particular phenomenon. Let's just hope that despite the speech lag that I have over here, I'll be able to continue to speak about what it is that I saw in a dream. I get dreams. Herein lies the thing that I actually want to talk about. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm bitter. I won't even deny that. There are people who think calling an individual bitter is a tease or a mock or a diss. No, it is a side effect or a reaction following a trajectory that they were placed in that put them in some kind of shoddy straits and they didn't gain justice. Bitterness is essentially unencountered justice. Yeah, bitterness is unencountered justice. So anybody at all that prides themselves in teasing a person for being bitter, it's like, shut up, what are you doing? You're basically priding yourself in there being no justice in society, okay? People only get bitter because they get dealt a bad blow, alright? And then nothing gets fixed. There tends to be a pacifier on the earth of people's propensity towards bitterness, and it's called alleviation, repatriation, recovery, restoration, recompense, otherwise known as justice. And if at all justice is not paid, you then end up with a society full of bitter people. And unfortunately, bitterness produces reactions that are kind of vigilantic. So when people are bitter, the issue here is not so much their bitterness, but the lack of justice that caused their bitterness, that then makes them kind of menacing. It makes them want to just kind of grab things and put them straight. In their own eyes, in their own image, given that, having awarded human beings an opportunity to do differently, they just chose not to because they imagine that this person is just a number, yet another human individual that we can act was never born, was never born. Okay, when I was 20, let's just say 20, it was like second year varsity, I had to drop out because my mom wasn't paying my fees. Yeah, I became bitter. Somewhat, because of my mom's irresponsibility with my future. And I had to roam around in the streets of Soweto gathering incredible dust. Proper on my nose was the powder of Lerolelako Soweto instead of it being actual foundation. And here it is that I am this just incredible genius. I am an academic. I did well in school. I was at some point foreseen by my school as the most likely to be successful type person. It was anticipated that among, all the kids in my school, a group of us, certain of us, were obviously going to be successful. And I was one of them. Okay? But here it is that now I was just sitting around gathering dust and a tumbleweed rolling around near my feet. Kosoweto, looking like Akitibi Siboto, something of a young person that's just loitering the hood, with no prospects of a future, just being wasted, squandered, to merely get old and then pass away without really making any dent on the earth. No difference. I became a typicality, a grain in the black community, something that I imagined that was the exception to that norm, because I was the smart girl, I was the clever one, I was among the kids that were most likely to be successful, voted as such in school, because I was responsible then. But I unfortunately had irresponsible parents, and I had irresponsible, I guess, ecosystems around me that ought to have cared a little bit more about my life and my future, to make sure that whatever it is that was the anticipation when I was in high school, that I'm going to be among the most successful people coming out of my high school. Yeah, somebody was supposed to responsibly just go and grab that vote of confidence in me and run with it. I was a child and I was supposed to be protected. I was supposed to be enabled to catapult to the height I was supposed to get to, given my giftedness. And then somebody made a decision just to stop paying my university fees, even though they could afford to. I was upset. I was embittered. I didn't want to move to KZN with my mom because I wanted to stay in the city where my university was at, because I never ever intended to drop out. I wanted to go back. Plus, I went to Wits University, one of the best universities in the country. I was not about to go and register at any other university in the land other than UCT, because I had standards. And since I wasn't in Cape Town, but I was in Durban, I was like, no, it's either Wits or UCT. And Wits, I stayed in Gauteng because that's where my school was at. And even though I was not registered anymore, I intended to go back exactly there. So in trying to protect my own future, I stayed in Gauteng even though my mom got a job in Durban. She tried to get me registered at some lowly Durban university, and I was like, I'm not going there. I think it was University of Durbanville or something. I was like, I'm not going to a substandard university to Wits. I qualified to get in as that basic, I'm getting a Wits degree, please. Yeah, well, she left me behind even though she could afford to pay my fees and send me back. So I ended up staying at my cousin's house, Kosoweto. And this cousin was my best friend, and I trusted that she would treat me well. Unfortunately for me, she changed and literally treated me like freaking Cinderella. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I became tight as a result with her little sister. She was a blessing, a massive one, in disguise. 4 years younger than me, nonetheless, it's like we were the exact same age. So I found solace in in her little sister and her boyfriend. We used to hang out all the time. They were comforting to me, but this cousin started to treat me like violent trash because she was always very competitive. And when I went to varsity and she just carried on working some secretary job, it was challenging for me to be the academic while she was just a school leaver. Yeah, she changed on me, but I ended up making friends with her little sister. But her little sister remember, I'm only like in second year varsity. The year that I was sitting around gathering dust, it was third year. It was gonna be third year, but I was not going to school. My fees were not paid, I could not return. So I was just hanging around in the Gasi, telling myself that I'm gonna get myself a job. And then I'm going to save money for a year to pay my fees off, and then raise registration money to take myself back to school part-time. Then I will work and study at the same time. So I had a mission to take myself back to school. That was a whole plan. I was never going to achieve that sitting in Durban. It was going to regress me. If I was in KZN, I was going to lose sight of my goals. So I had to keep myself in an uncomfortable environment where it is that I was in the ecosystem of my dreams. I was not going to leave that place even if it was uncomfortable. It was frankly a lot easier to live with my mom because of the fact that her house was just cleaner. There was better food. I was more accustomed to the comforts of my mom's living environment. I did not like being at my cousin's home in Soweto because even dinner, they like dijo tsa koteng, there were just these just so much freaking rationing. I couldn't deal. Like at my mom's house, my mom, there was a time when she used to work for Woolies in HR. And my goodness, like just the delicacies. We used to eat so well and as much as we wanted. My mom has always been very good on cooking. She's always been very good on health. There's always been a variety of food in the refrigerator. There's never been an issue. That's why to this day still I eat as well as I do. She's always been a foodie. And so because my mom has always been a foodie, there was always just this beautiful food in the refrigerator, including desserts and stuff like that. I could have 2, 3, however many pieces of chicken for dinner as I wanted. But then when I was living at my cousin's house, there was just so much rationing. Like one little tiny piece of chicken on your plate, and so much pap and all this gravy, and just there was not the luxury, the standard of living that I had growing up was absent in my uncle's household. They were used to it, but for me, I felt like I was being starved. I've been naturally very skinny all my life, so I never really got fat. Therefore, my mom's opulent eating habits never really got to my waistline. So I imagine that maybe because my aunt and uncle imagined that I was a small eater because of how skinny I was, given that he had chubby daughters. Like, I don't even know how my cousins were so chubby. Like, both of them, they were chubby. They were kind of biggish, right? On the larger side, they were never skinny girls. I don't know how they got fat, because there was just no food. Like, it's just that basic. Not enough. It's not like they were poor. They just grew up eating that minimally. But I had come from basically eating like a queen and a king. You know that saying, eating like a king? Back in the day, the supply chain was an issue, where it is that provision for entire cities was feasible through industry and trade that put basically food on FMCG shelves, such that the late Jane and the late Joe on the street can go to Woolies and buy bread. Back in the day, it was hard to come by bread if you were a peasant. It was hard to come by Coca-Cola and cheese. Yeah, that's been changed in 2023 because of industry and chain and trade. The industrial revolutions of this world has made supermarkets a thing. Yeah, so you find food readily available in very many places. Therefore, there's no longer such a thing as eating like a queen or like Beyonce or whatever. But back in the day, eating like a king was really a thing, because only kings had, I guess, all the crop and the produce of the land pretty much harvested for their palaces. And so they ate like fruits, vegetables, just a very well-balanced diet, while peasants were struggling to so much as get flour in their backyards. So thank you, Jesus, for the industrial revolutions of the earth. You made it possible for us, upon working by the sweat of our brows, to actually come up with ways to feed everybody. But now there's like greed and rapacity and deliberate interruptions of the supply chain because of power, megalomaniacalism in the global elites, that make it such that it is impossible for all of us to have food at the same time, and then they blame it on overpopulation when it's rather their rapacity and barriers to entry. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Yeah, well, I used to eat like a king or palace, dweller type. Oh, come on, this computer, like, don't give me that grief. Just switch on, for crying out loud. Yeah, I used to eat like a queen in comparison anyway to my cousins, and I don't know what that was about. They were not struggling financially. They were not a suffering family, but they had peasant lifestyles in terms of their diets in a way that I didn't. I was used to, when Woolies was new, when Woolies branched out into food, because they only used to sell clothes back in the day. If you've lived in South Africa, you would know that was a thing. If you're over a certain age, you would remember that Woolies used to, at some point, only sell clothes. And when they broke out into food, they became a luxury brand of food. And my mom, around the very early stages of Woolies, got a job there in HR. And so all the beautiful, lovely, like, confectionery items, like desserts, for crying out loud. Yeah, Tsako Woolies, we got a first taste at them because she was, always bringing home stock, new stock that they would apportion some of it to staff type establishment thing. So I grew up, when I was in high school, goodness gracious, I was eating like a little princess. I ate like a queen. There was always fruit, there was always vegetables, and there was always these exorbitant, elaborate, really creme de la creme, cream of the crop type desserts at home. Like, you would know when I say Woolies desserts what we're talking about here. If you're South African, you would know. It don't get no better than Woolies. They just have a way with food. Yeah, I came from an environment like that, and then here it is now. I was in varsity, and I was living in a household where no such luxury was a thing. I really did miss my mother's house. I was more like a princess or a queen that suddenly had to live among the villagers where my cousin's family was concerned. and I hated it. I hated it, but for me, it was a small price to pay for my dreams, for my future. The small little portions of chicken for a skinny girl that could not afford to get skinnier, the lack of dessert, the lack of variety of food, the inability to just gobble as much as I wanted to. Goodness gracious, I was put on a forced diet. I ended up eating the kotatsakokasi, like a whole bunch, just to satiate my hunger for richness of food, because I had that going down quite a lot with my mom. Thank God it did not take me very long. I guess I was kind of like a little bit of a spoiled brat to end up taking a bus to KwaZulu-Natal because I couldn't deal with the atmosphere, the environment at my uncle's. But it wasn't even so much the atmosphere that moved me away, or the lack of food. It was the mistreatment. It was the fact that my cousin treated me like trash, and it really used to hurt because I was going through a lot. I was losing my mind in that ecosystem. Nonetheless, I stuck around for as long as I did in that environment, which is not even that long. It was just 6 months, but it felt like 6 years. Right? Yeah, I even became heavily suicidal. I told myself one time upon going to Tladi Clinic to take an HIV test because I wanted an excuse to commit suicide. I was like, if at all I come out positive with HIV, because I had been sexually irresponsible in the past. From that date, there's some guy that I dated for about 18 months that was like a player. He was like all over the show. And the last time we fornicated, he kind of pressurized me to having sex with him without a condom because he couldn't find condoms where we were at, and he got all frustrated and gnawed with me. And because I didn't want my boyfriend to be mad at me, I was like, okay, fine. And ever since then, I was freaking out that I could be HIV positive because he was all over the show. I knew it. So it had been about a year, maybe year and a half since that guy and I broke up, and I imagined that maybe I was living with HIV. So I told myself that I was going to go and take an HIV test, and if it was positive, I was going to end my life. I wanted an excuse to end my life because I got that depressed. I got that miserable because of that level of loneliness. 1 minute. The test came back negative, as we know. I keep talking about HIV a lot and how I don't want it. So obviously I came out negative. So I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have a reason to kill myself, but I was still very depressed. I was still very macabre, very melancholic. I was still very suicidal. I still wanted to end my life. Nonetheless, that didn't happen, and I will get to what under heaven happened over there. What basically brought me back from the precipice of death, because I was near redemption. I was near breakthrough. Even though I was not born again, God had always been looking out for me. His eye has always been on me, just like on the sparrow. Like, that's just the thing. When the Lord has chosen you, he chooses you from in your mama's womb. He knits you together therein, and he calls you from and predestinates you from before the foundations of the earth. So even when you are like an irresponsible 20-year-old that's fornicating with like a bad guy, and he has a plan to rescue you at 26, his eye will be on you as it is on the sparrow, and so he will see to it that you never ever do anything that's going to wreak havoc in your life, or in your soul, in your spirit, and something that's going to take you to eternity early, or whatever. I nearly died when I was that age. I would have been a young, bright, upcoming, lovely young woman with a massively big job that would have just been severed, cut short, like, what do you call this thing? Silver cord would have just been cut short, but hallelujah, I got sobered by some things that happened. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so that season I stayed where it is that I was at, and the thing that caused me a severity of depression was the combination of the fact that my best friend was treating me like trash, and the fact that I was not where I wanted to be in life. I stayed Go Soweto because I wanted to be in Johannesburg. I wanted to be in the region of my university where it is that I was going to go and grab my future. Plus, if at all you are from South Africa or you know anything at all about South Africa, you will know that Johannesburg or Gauteng is essentially the industrial hub of South Africa. We are the largest economy in the country as a city, followed closely by Cape Town and then Durban. We are a major city, so if at all you want to commence a career and do really well and you're born in the greater Johannesburg area, you are blessed. You're kind of like given a step ahead. It's like being born in Abuja, Nigeria. Like, if at all you are in a central city, you are given stronger odds at prosperity. on the come up than somebody that is from the Blasies. If at all your family is from there and you commute to go to the hub of the economic hub of Johannesburg, which would be basically the northern suburbs of Johannesburg, if at all you can travel with ease there using buses, padcos, taxis, whatever, you have an advantage. You are at a benefit. Do you understand? In comparison to everybody else in South Africa. So I was born, thankfully, by the amazing grace of God, and bred like in Soweto initially, and then we moved to like suburbs or in and around the Johannesburg area. So I had one up on pretty much all other kids in South Africa. You know, I was automatically born and raised in an environment that increased, or you know, gave me a little bit of a boost and a push in light of my prospects. I was given an advantage just by mere virtue of being from Johannesburg. So I was not about to go and move to KwaZulu-Natal. Not only is Johannesburg the largest economy in the country, the salaries I was studying these things even as a child, right? Plus it was communicated to me in my studies at university anyway, so I kind of knew it. Salaries, if at all you were to go on pay scale, it's some kind of a barometer that gauges salaries across multiple industries, multiple jobs, and you get to use pay scale to see if at all what they're offering you at some job, at some company that's offering you a job, if at all it's competitive with the market. Pay scale can help you basically be like nyangtela, langtela, nyangtela, nyangtwaela, because frankly in the market I can get this. Or pay scale can tell you that they want you so hard and so bad, having headhunted you, that they're prepared to pay you way above market. Yeah, so pay scale will help you see that the salaries of people doing the exact same job in Johannesburg versus Gauteng. No, sorry, Gauteng is in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is in Gauteng. Salaries in Gauteng are loftier than salaries in all the other major cities of the country, i.e. Durban and Cape Town, and of course a lot larger even than other non-large cities, like other provinces that don't have major cities in them, like Limpopo, like Mpumalanga, like the Northwest, etc. You get my point. So really, if you are in Johannesburg, you're better off because project managers in Johannesburg earn a lot more than project managers in Mpumalanga, who earn a lot more than who earn a lot less than project managers in Cape Town, etc., etc., etc. So I knew that I was in the best place to be. There was no way under heaven I was going anywhere. If at all I was going to bolster my career, I was always very ambitious that way. That's how I was looking forward to a future. Yeah. So I was not about to leave Joburg. I was not about to go and put myself in second best. I was, even though Durban was a major city, it had nothing on Johannesburg. I was not about to go and basically mess with my prospects. I was not about to go and start a first job in a city that is going to give me a salary that is literally a fraction of what I would have gotten for the same job in Johannesburg. I stayed in Joburg because I knew that this was my springboard. Let me save this lest I should lose the content. Praise the Lord, I was able to save that content. If I can just keep myself still without moving, I may very potentially be able to maintain even a conversation without a speech lag. Moving on, yeah, no, I did not want to leave Johannesburg or Gauteng at all, because I wanted to be close to the economic hub of our entire country, the main one. I didn't want to be away from either downtown Johannesburg or northern suburbs of Joburg. I did not want to be away from the commercial hub of my land. That's what's good. So I stuck around in Soweto knowing that I could always commute from there. I could always take taxis, padcos, buses, whatever, just to get to where I need to get, right? I also did not want to have to travel multiple kilometers just to get to a job interview that I might fail. It would be less disappointing that way. Like people who come from the Blasies who want desperately to move to Jozi Maboneng, getting a job interview and having to literally travel over 2 days, 3 days just to go to a job interview that they may or may not get. I did not want to have to travel to Joburg from KZN, where my mom was at, when then I would get an interview only to be disappointed. I wanted to stick around. Sadly, however, I was sitting around in Soweto, which would have been okay if my cousin and I had stayed tight. If we had stayed alright, I would have had, like, you know, I loved my cousin so much and we were so close that it was basically ideal for us to live in the same house because we loved each other so much. We grew up next to each other. We liked each other more than we liked our own siblings. Yeah. So for me, it was like I was moving to an even better home. It's just that, you know, it was less catered to than where it is that I came from. It was less the finishes, the decor, the house itself. It was not quite what my mom's standards of living were. But I had my cousin, and that's all that mattered. So we're good, right? I was living now in this house, and this chick done changed on me. I realized that she was extremely competitive and that she was proud of my sorrow, right? Her sister made the observation that she's mean to me and basically pampered and comforted me, and she was younger than me by 4 years. So during the season when I was basically now living Ko Soweto, do you understand, from the very beginning of that particular year, so it was 2003, 4, 5, beginning of 2005, because 2003 was my first year, as 2004 second year, since I matriculated in 2002. This was now beginning of 2005. Given that the previous year I was at Wits all year, and my mom moved to KZN at the very end of 2004. Okay, so here it is that she's gone to KZN to get a job, live there with my baby sister, and I decide to stay home. Well, in Johannesburg, which is my home. Durban was some strange place that I didn't understand, right? I decided to stay here, and I lived with my uncle, who made me pay occupational rent from 600 rands, like just all different kinds of weird stuff going on. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, 200 rand, that's like, yeah, so it took away 400 bucking. It left me with only 400 bucks, and ka 400 rand I was basically told that I understood that with it, I could do one or two things. I could just basically pocket it and eat the gota and buy loose cigarettes, since I used to smoke, type thing with it. Or I could basically make sure that I use that money to buy a workplace every Wednesday. Workplace, the place where you could look for jobs. I don't know if it's still a thing anymore, but there was a bit of a career junction in the form of a newspaper back in the day called The Workplace, in the Star newspaper, and it was every Wednesday that they sold it. I could either buy a workplace every Wednesday to look for a job, and also travel to job interviews, save money, making sure that should I get a job interview, I get on a taxi using that money, or I could just splurge it. So I could not even buy basic things like the toiletries I preferred, the whatever it is that I wanted. I just used to save that 400 bucks just in case. No, never mind, just in case. I used to use that 400 rands to buy a workplace every Wednesday, and the money, the coins, like there were these public payphones. Did I have a cell phone at the time? I can't remember, right? I believe I might have had like some 3310 angazi, but like it was very, very expensive to attempt to call a corporate, that you saw the number of in a workplace using a cell phone at time. So there were like these container boxes that had public payphones, that you could basically pay for a minute to talk, and it was cheaper that way. So I would save this money to basically make phone calls to companies that advertised jobs, like call center agents wanted, a receptionist wanted, blah blah, anything at all. I just wanted any job that would help me raise money to take myself back to school. I did not care about the girth or the quality of that job, understanding that I was a school leaver that had no qualifications, who had dropped out of university Gankane. I could not be expecting a job as a project administrator or whatever, right? I was literally just looking for call center jobs that did not require any experience, blah blah. Yeah, I was a complete school leaver. And I used to take that money and wait online when, like, literally music playing in the background while you hold for minutes on end, as this thing is just billing you until somebody is like, Old Mutual, hello, how can I help you? Oh, I saw a job placement in the workplace, only for them to tell you, oh, sorry, no, the vacancy, we've already got enough people that have called in for the day. Better luck next time. Thank you, bye. And by then, you've already spent like 25 rands out of 400 rand. And this is something that I would be doing for days on end until I ran out of money. And then I couldn't anymore. I couldn't, because I had to wait until the next month to get money from my mom. And if at all I did successfully get like a job interview, right, they allowed me to go there, I would find out that it's cold calling, and in other words sales, and I could not do cold calling. I hated it. I was not about to go out like that. I tried one time. There was actually a job interview that I successfully interviewed for, where I found out that it's cold calling for T-Mobile, where we had to sell cell phone contracts to people not even in South Africa but in the UK. And I went there for a week, and the next week I couldn't go because I didn't have money. The next week I couldn't go back to work. I hated the job, but I told myself I'm gonna ride it out, because they not only paid you commission, but they also gave a basic. The only reason I took that job was because it had a basic and a commission, and I could not stay because the next week when I tried to go to work, I was told house ifedile. What in the world? That was my life. That's how hard that's how what barriers to entry I had. That's what limitedness I was endured through as a 20-year-old girl, woman, trying to basically break out of the mold of poverty. So that whole life situation really severely depressed me. It depressed me because, remember, I was bright. I was really gifted. I was basically earmarked by teachers and some students that I was going to be among the most successful people because I was the kid that everybody was looking at on that's a star. And when you're the star, now sitting around as she need, gathering dust in the kasi, smoking cigarettes and eating the gota that you are hustling, stealing, what do you call this? The kuku. My uncle used to sell cool drinks and beers and stuff like that. Every so often my cousin and I would steal one, sticky fingers type establishment thing. Yeah, and that's you basically imagining that you're being spectacular or special or whatever, because you're gonna get to eat the gotayako with Sprite. Yeah, no, that was all we had. I was low-key very depressed, even though I had comfort in my little cousin. And the reason I was depressed was because I just felt like my future was over. Like I was going nowhere. I was supposed to be successful. I was supposed to be one of those that people are looking out for. Look, I was gonna be great. And then I end up nowhere. Yeah, no, I was in the Gazi gathering dust with barely any money to buy workplace, to make phone calls, to jobs, to... Yes, like, goodness gracious, guys, yes, your story sena. I, at some point, have got to work out, you guys. I cannot be here for too long. So let me just get straight to the gist of this matter. This situation got me severely depressed. I told you I came back negative from an HIV test, so that was not sufficient enough reason for me to kill myself. If I had tested positive for HIV, I was gonna kill myself. I wanted an excuse to end my life. I wanted something to show me or to tell me that it was worth it for me to take myself out. And then I came back negative. After the HIV negative test, I went back then to the grain of Bukasi. And my cousin was younger than me by 4 years. So it's not like she was just gathering dust with me in the Gasi. She was just back home on time to hang out with me. I was just all day, every day. My cousin, the one that was my best friend, she went to work. She used to work some receptionist job. Do you understand? Her mom and dad went to work. Her sister went to school, high school. So in the mornings, I was so depressed because I would wake up and I was the only one endlini with maybe like some cousins, some older cousins that were always in and out, like the maid, the lady that used to stay in the house 1 minute, the domestic worker, the house was always, what do you call this? There was always someone. It's one of those houses, Kokasi, that like barely ever would there be no one on the property. Plus, there were people that used to live Kodi Rumung Kamontle. But I was not the only person left in the house. I think there was a maid and also one of the other guys that was always just there. Yeah. But the depression, the fact that everybody was waking up. And like in the mornings, I used to cry inside when I would hear my uncle bathing, my aunt bathing, when I would hear my cousins bathing, when I would like basically smell in the room spray like sa aerosol, basically getting ready for school. Everybody was waking up and going somewhere and I was the only one, and it used to break my heart so much. Guys, I'm just getting so emotional thinking about it. I've been through so much. I was so sad. I was like, how in the world, why did I study for science? Why did I study for maths? Why under heaven did I even try to do extracurricular activities at school to boost my stats? Why? Because all of that, nobody cares that I put in the time. No one cares that I was on the honors roll goskolong. Like, why did I do all that? For what? And I was just sitting there. They would go to school after Batsamaya. It would be then dead quiet around like by 7, by 6:30, 7 because traffic, they gotta catch traffic, whatnot, and it would be quiet and I would then wake up. I used to smoke cigarettes because I was peer pressurized into smoking, so I would like go into a corner and smoke. I would go the back of the house because my uncle was not there, so there was no one to run away from. And I would smoke, and after smoking I would be super depressed. Cigarettes used to make me feel weak. Like I never ever got used to them. That's why I so easily quit them. I would smoke and I would feel worse even from smoking cigarettes. I would then go in the house and like just, whoa, goodness. When I went to the clinic to test for HIV. I grabbed a whole bunch of pamphlets there. If anything, I feel like the nurse gave me pamphlets to read on all different kinds of STDs. I would page through these STDs and see all these graphic photographs of like genital warts and different kinds of nasties and study these pamphlets basically because I wanted to study anything at all. And I told you guys that I was very interested in biology. So I used to study pamphlets from the clinic, teaching myself about all different kinds of STD, how they start, blah blah wada, because when you go for an HIV test, they just give you some educational material for you to take back. So I was going through these wada fish paste, and then after reading them, I would read magazines again over and over again, just waiting for my little cousin to come home. My little cousin would then arrive at around like 3 p.m. because Kolo would finish at like 2:30 or whatever. Yeah, she would be back. Sometimes she would come back with the boyfriend. They used to go to the same school type establishment thing, and then I would start to hang out with them. My heart was heavy, it was sunken, I was in pain, but I never let it show. I was always laughing with them, we were always making jokes, again, they were also smoking type thing. I was hanging out with kids. The boyfriend was older, he was younger than me by like perhaps a year or two or something, and he was older than her by 2 years. So he was like maybe in matric and she was in grade, like I don't know, I can't remember, man. Like, but my cousin was like, they were both in high school at some point. Ultimately the guy then matriculated, etc. 1 minute. Yeah, eventually they matriculated because of my cousin's boyfriend. He used to do capoeira, so we started getting interested in capoeira and stuff, and we would go to like the netball courts and do capoeira. He would like train us and teach us, so it helped. It was like an antidepressant to a certain extent. Their company, the company of my baby cousin and her boyfriend, I was like a third wheeler, but it didn't matter because they didn't make me feel like one. It helped, right? It really helped because, you know, God has been so gracious all throughout my life. After my cousin treated me like trash, he gave me them, the kids. He gave me these kids. They were kids to me, right? Because they were younger than me by a couple of years, but nonetheless they functioned as, like I said, it was a bit of a band-aid on cancer. There was relief in them. There was a lot of relief in my little cousin, and that's how I ended up getting tight, period, pretty much. It never really, like, our relationship was solidified, my baby cousin and I, from that time. We just continued to grow from strength to strength. Of course, after losing everything, everybody fell off the bandwagon where I'm concerned, but that cousin of mine stayed really very tight. We stayed close because of that time. If it was not for that time, she would have always just been to me a baby, a kid, a child, that I would be like, hello, bye, hello, bye, hey, shbaya laba, these children. But then she became an actual friend because of the fact that she was there for me when her older sister was not making sense. And again, she also vocalized the fact that her older sister, Unasele, she vocalized and said that, I don't know why my sister is doing this to you. It's wrong because you're going through a lot. But anyway, whatever, I got your back type thing. So I was good. But the thing that used to make me sad was that everybody goes somewhere and I'm sitting in the kasi. Everybody goes somewhere and I'm sitting in the kasi. When I had money, which was barely, like, just at the beginning of the month, that's when I would buy the workplaces over like 2 weeks, and then like call, and then there would be 2 weeks where it was dry and I could not now go to the workplace. My cousin used to finance, my little cousin, she used to finance my kotas, she used to finance my cigarettes, she used to find, basically because she used to get keri from her dad, right, and her mom, who used to give her money. She would finance these things when I would run dry type establishment thing. Like, God has always made sure that in spite of irresponsibility on the part of those who were supposed to take care of me, that there was always kids taking care of me, like kids my age, or, you know, like with my cousin, she was younger. Like when I was in high school, I had this friend that I used to walk to the taxis with. I used to walk from my school, which was quite a distance, to where it is that I would get taxis that would go to North. The other day I said Bree. That was a mistake. I wanted to say North. I would go to North taxi rank. I had to walk quite a distance because the ones that were outside my school only went up to Bree. So if I wanted to get to North, I had to walk some distance. And there was this chick that I used to walk up there with, and now she would take taxis that would take her to her neighborhood, which was not very far from my school. And every single day she used to buy me KFC, even though I had absolutely nothing to my particular name. Right, so I've always, in spite, 1 minute, In spite of remember I told you guys is it yesterday's or day before yesterday when I was talking about baby Jake Matlala and how he used to shella high school girls. I spoke about, and I was busy lamenting in that video about these men that are similar to baby Jake in that type thing. I spoke about how my parent was very miserly and never used to give me like enough pocket money, and it was just such a problem for me. I only had just enough to get on taxis, and sometimes I wouldn't even have lunch at school because I wouldn't have time to make it, so I would go hungry all day type establishment thing, and then I would only eat when I got home. Well, I had friends that always fed me. Like I was fed by my girls in high school during the day lunch and the afternoons and after school. I also had this like friend that almost every single day, like without fail, clockwork for something like maybe over 2 grades, maybe grade 10 and 11. That's when I used to stay in Alberton, and so I would have to walk up there. After that, I had moved to another neighborhood, so I was not using the same taxi route, and so I didn't walk with her anymore. But for those 2 years, she would. For those 2 years, I would eat. She used to feed me like proper, like KFC. Every single after school, Nerea goes KFC, and she would buy me streetwise too. So when like the call of Jeremiah in the Bible, where the Lord says that I predestinated you for this job, and I called you from the eternity past, knit you together in your mother's womb for a particular job. I believe it because I saw how God took care of me even before I knew him, even before I could acknowledge him, even before I could walk in what he wanted me to do. He already gave me provision through a myriad of other forces when the responsible force in my life that was put in place to do these things for me just could not care less about me. I don't eat my parent. Like the one who could not care less about me, I nonetheless always had someone that did care. I had friends that catered to needs that that parents ought to have catered to. Like that was the weirdest thing for me. I was raised by a village, a community, including abangani, the kinds of friends that are like, it's nothing, whatever, it's water under the bridge, to spend money on you every single day, but 5 rand whatnot. So all of the backstabbing that I've endured from pretty much everyone that's ever come in my life, it's like, how in the world you gonna go and waste memories like that? How in the world you gonna go waste your ride or die state like that? How in the world you gonna go eliminate from the timeline the fact that when I was in high school, you're the one that fed me lunch, you're the one that bought me a KFC after school, you're the one, you know what I mean? Like, how in the world you gonna go to squander all that? How you gonna go and love witchcraft to a point where you will squander the fact that at some point in this particular woman's life you were used mightily by God so that she does not have to suffer so much want? Anyway, let's move to the next part. I'm being distracted by eavesdropping. Come on, 1 minute.